Wayne, give me a picture. How would you describe your worship service at your church?
We spent a long time working about what our worship would be like. We looked at our community and the target. We actually set a target. We did a lot of research and set a target, and we thought we're going to reach this target. The wrong people turned up, so we were smart. We just changed the target to actually who was turning up. But they were secular people. They liked more contemporary music, and that's what our basic worship style is. We our church Sabbath school starts at 10 o'clock, and we go straight to groups, and they study the Sabbath school lesson. Now, these aren't the normal groups that meet during the week. These are Sabbath school classes. So they go for an hour, just straight out Bible discussion on topics, basic Christianity, more in-depth things depending where they are. That goes till 11. Then we have drinks and refreshments between Sabbath school and church. Church starts at 11:15, goes through to 12:30. We would start with, say, 3 lots of praise songs more, then a ministry time where we share our ministry concerns. We have what we call a Mountain Peak Award that we give out periodically, which is a crystal kind of mountain as an award to someone who is modeling the values and the purposes of our church. We're giving it to a senior lady this coming week, actually, who's been minding the children for a number of years, and we're giving it to her. She had no idea we're giving it to her. Ministry time, there might be a drama. We do use Christian dance sometimes. Then the offering is taken up and prayer is had. Then the children go. Then we have 3 more, say, more meditative worship style songs, quieter type of songs, and then church service. And when I preach, I normally do it with notes so that people actually have a copy of what I'm preaching about. They fill in things that take home. And I say to people, look, this is so that if you disagree with what I say, you'll know why you disagreed with me. Or if you agree with it, you might be able in the future be able to use this sermon. We use the PowerPoint and the screen a lot, and to illustrate the sermon we might have video clips, slide presentations, those sorts of things. We find that young people particularly, one of the best ways to involve them in church is multimedia. I don't know much about the multimedia. I say to them, I want to be able to do this, can you do it? And they just love that type of challenge. And we encourage them a lot with multimedia. Like to preach on relevant issues to people, conflict. What does the Bible say about how to have a healthy marriage? What does the Bible say about how I can overcome my anger, the power of forgiveness, and those things. And then we just finish with a song and prayer, and that's our church service. Our church is situated in a youth centre that was actually built by our local government, our council, because Wyong Shire had the highest teen suicide rate in Australia for 3 years in a row. And the local government got very embarrassed about that, so they built this very nice youth centre. The Salvation Army managed it, but they then offered it to us if we wanted to build a church there, because we'd already moved our congregation two times because we'd continued to grow. 2 denominations were actually offered the place before we were. That was no prejudice or anything, they just didn't know we wanted it. And 2 denominations knocked it back because there were street kids. And there's actually a skate park just within yards of the main entrance to the hall. And these 2 denominations didn't want these kids around, but that's who we wanted to reach. So the first Sabbath that we opened up, we picked up 15 street kids, and we've kept them ever since, and we have more coming along all the time. If you walked in, there's a big hall like a gymnasium. We have set up the stage that is there permanently throughout the entire week, and all the rigging in the ceiling is there the whole time. Then throughout the whole centre, rooms for the classrooms, children's church. We actually run a children's church every Sabbath at our church for 4 to 12-year-olds. The reason we do that is because we have so many single parents who come to our church. And remember, they're really secular unchurched people, they've never been to church. Their children have never been to church, and to sit through an hour and 15 minutes, which our church service goes for, and I think I'm an okay preacher, but apparently 5-year-olds don't particularly think so. And so what we found is that mothers were concentrating on their children, and they weren't listening to the church service. The kids are bored, so after 2 or 3 weeks, they don't come anymore. Now, I was raised with the idea that mum and dad and the kids sat together in church, and it was a bit hard for me. But we weren't there because of my past, we were there to reach unchurched people. And so we have now over 50 children between the ages of 4 and 12 who, after we have our first time of praise and worship and our ministry time, they all go off and have their own church service. And it's a brilliant program, it really is. They have, all the children do everything we do in the main church. They do the greeting, so you have a 5-year-old getting up, greeting people, a 6-year-old welcoming everybody, a 10-year-old on the PA system. They do the whole program. We do, in our church, encouragement cards, where we write down a note to each other. Encouragement is one of our 10 values. And the children do the same too. They have their encouragement cards they write out. And they have these t-shirts with Kids Church, I served in Kids Church, written on them. And we have community children knocking on the doors at 8:30 when we open up to set up, saying, I've got to come in, it's my turn to serve today in Kids Church. It's absolutely brilliant.
Can you give me a quick history of your children's church? Did it start from the very beginning of your church, or did it kind of evolve?
We started our church as a core group first, with 3 from the Wyong area and 15 of our people. We actually didn't advertise we were there for 12 months. We just built up the core group, spent time with that, make sure we had the values, make sure we were building relationships with unchurched people. So when we were ready to launch, we had a basic program of children's ministries and things like that ready to go. So we started with that. So when we did our first official program, we had children's ministries ready to go. We didn't do Kids Church until the numbers started to go up a little bit around the church time. We noticed parents were coming with their children to Sabbath school because the children's Sabbath school was so dynamic, but then leaving after that. And we just did a call and said, okay, what do we do to keep them coming to church? And we said Kids Church. It's interesting because the lady who runs Kids Church was brought up like me, believing children should be in the church service. And when we talked about it, she said, no, Wayne, I disagree with this. But she went home and prayed about it. And then she actually rang me up and said, look, Wayne, I've been praying about it, and I think we should do this. And actually, she said, I think I should run it. And I said, thank you, God, because she was the best person to run it. She is good.